Some people go quiet the moment a conversation turns to the weather or someone's weekend or how crazy traffic was. Not because they're shy, not because they dislike people. Something else happens, a kind of internal resistance, almost physical, the moment small talk begins. What's actually happening is this: their brain is registering the exchange as empty of information, and something in them refuses to spend energy on it. That's the mechanism. The rest of this is about why it runs so deep. Before we go further, if you find yourself fascinated by the quiet machinery behind everyday behavior, this is exactly the kind of pattern this channel exists to uncover. Consider subscribing so the next analysis finds you. Point 1. Why small talk feels like a cost. For most people, small talk is social lubrication. It costs almost nothing and buys warmth. But for people who dislike it, the brain doesn't file it under connection. It files it under effort with no return. Every conversation gets unconsciously priced. Some people price small talk as cheap and worthwhile. Others price it as expensive and empty, because what they're actually hungry for is meaning, and small talk doesn't supply it. That explains the discomfort. It doesn't explain where the hunger for meaning comes from. Point 2. The nervous system notices first. The resistance often arrives before conscious thought. Someone asks, "How was your weekend?" And there's a flicker of tension before any words form. That flicker is the nervous system flagging the interaction as low value in real time. People who hate small talk aren't reacting to the words. They're reacting to a prediction their brain has already made about where the conversation is going. Which raises the obvious question: what are they predicting instead? Point 3. They're scanning for signal. People who avoid small talk are usually doing something quietly demanding in the background, listening for signal. A shift in someone's voice, an unguarded sentence, the one detail that reveals what a person actually cares about. Small talk to this kind of listener sounds like static. Their entire social radar is built around detecting signal beneath it, and small talk gives the radar nothing to find. When researchers looked at how people rate conversations afterward, they found something unexpected. The ones remembered as most meaningful weren't the longest or most personal. They were the ones with a single, unscripted moment. One sentence someone hadn't planned to say did more for connection than 10 minutes of comfortable talk. That's the exact moment small talk-averse listeners are always waiting for. But a radar this finely tuned doesn't build itself. Point 4. Where the radar gets built. Most people learn to skim conversations for tone, not content. A voice half a register higher than usual. A joke arriving one beat too fast after bad news. In households where things went unsaid, words become the least reliable part of the message, so a child learns to read everything underneath them instead. That habit doesn't turn off in adulthood. It's not a separate trait sitting next to the radar. It's the radar's origin story. The vigilance that once protected a child in an unpredictable room is the same mechanism now flinching at "How was your weekend?" The discomfort was never really about small talk. It was inherited equipment still running. Point 5. Why this becomes a loop. Once someone tags small talk as low value, they disengage slightly earlier. Shorter answers, less eye contact, subtle withdrawal. Other people sense that and, without knowing why, keep things shallow in response. The very thing they were trying to avoid gets reinforced by their own reaction to it. It isn't that others refuse to go deeper, it's that the withdrawal arrives before anyone gets the chance. The silence meant to protect the conversation is often what's quietly starving it. Point 6. What they're actually asking for. Underneath the discomfort is a simple, almost vulnerable request. Talk to me like I matter enough to be honest with me. Watch what happens the next time you skip the weather and ask someone what they've actually been thinking about. You'll often see the exact moment someone who hates small talk leans in instead of away. The silence finally has something worth breaking for. This was never really about disliking conversation. It was a mind that had learned to conserve itself for exchanges that mean something, and a discomfort that was, all along, a form of hope. Which leaves a deeper question worth sitting with. If depth seekers are this sensitive to authenticity in others, how much of that same standard do they quietly hold themselves to? Some people never trigger this resistance at all. Depth arrives around them without any friction. If you want to understand what makes that possible, watch the people who are effortless to talk to have this in common. This is human nature decoded. See you on the next analysis.